Welcome to the solutions to the fractions problems. Hopefully if you're listening to this you've had a go at the questions already. We're going to start off with question number 1, which says, in a school there are 220 pupils in year 9 and 120 of these pupils are girls. Now before I go any further, I'm just going to observe that it's a very straightforward calculation to do 220 take away 120, which leaves me with 100, and that's the number of boys. And that's something that's really obvious just from reading it. Now I'm going to carry on now. And the question says, what fraction of the 220 pupils are boys? Well, I know there's 100 boys, so the fraction is going to be 100 out of 220, because that was the number of students. Now, the question then asks me to give the fraction in its simplest form. So that's just a question of saying spot the times table. So I'm first of all going to divide both by 10, which gives me 10 over 22. And they're both even numbers, which means I can halve them both. I can divide them by 2 to get 5 over 11, which is my final answer. Now, question number 2 is all about multiplying fractions. So when I multiply fractions, that's the simplest thing to do. I times the tops and I times the bottoms. So 3 times 1 is 3, and 5 times 4 is 20. So the answer is 3 over 20. Question 3 is about adding fractions. Now when I add fractions I use the picnic table, so this is the thing I use to remind me what to do. So I start with the 2, there it is, and I do 2 times 7, which is 14. And then I do 7 times 5, which is 35, and they're both on the bottom, so I put this on the bottom. Finally, 5 times 1 is 5, and it's an add. 14 add 5 is 19, so it's 19 over 35. And I look at them both, and there's no common factors, which means I can't simplify it. Question 4. This is the sort of question that intimidates a lot of people because it's very wordy, so I'm just going to go through it bit by bit and see what I can do. So first of all, it tells me there's 36 students going to one revision class. Okay. Now 1/6 of the students went to physics. So before I go any further, I'm just going to do the obvious thing, which is to work out 1/6 of the students. And there was 36 students, remember, so it's 1/6 of 36. Now, a sixth, well, I'm just going to chop 36 into 6. That's supposed to be a divide, by the way, there we go. And that leaves 6. So 6 students went to physics, there we go. Let me carry on reading now. 2/9 of the students went to biology. Okay, so the next obvious thing to do is to consider 2/9 of, now people get confused now, it's of the students and there was 36 students, so it's 2/9 of 36. It's very important that you do your fractions of the right number. And 2/9 of 36 is a little bit trickier, so I'm going to start off by doing 1/9 of 36. So 1/9 of 36 is 36 divided by 9, which is 4. But I didn't want 1/9, I wanted 2/9, so 2/9 is 2 lots of 4, because 4 was 1/9, which is 8. So that means that 8 students went to biology. Now, notice I still haven't actually read what the question's asking. These are just the obvious things to do. It says all of the other students went to the chemistry revision class. How many students went to the chemistry revision class? Well, I know there was 36 students originally, and 6 of them went to physics. That leaves 30. And then 8 of them went to biology, which left 22. So 22 students went to chemistry. So 22 And that's the end of question 4. Now, finally, the challenge question. Now, this is quite a challenging question. We're going to approach it in the same way that we did the last one. We're just going to have a quick read through and just do what the obvious things are. So we've got 3 people, Anwar, Bethany and Colin, and they each earn the same weekly wage, so they each get the same amount of money. Each week, Anwar saves 12% of his wage. Now, you're probably thinking, like I am, I'd like to work out 12% of his wage, but I don't know how much he earns, so we can't. So let's carry on. Each week, Bethany spends 7/8 of her wage and saves the rest. But we don't know how much she earns, so we can't work out 7/8. The ratio of the money Colin saves each week to what he spends is 1 to 9. And again, there's no number, so we can't work any actual numbers out. Now, that means we must have to compare using these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a little table, really. I'm going to have Anwar, he's going to be A, and Bethany's going to be B, and Colin is C. And then I'm going to write down what they save and what they spend. And see where that gets us. So, Anwar saves 12%, which must mean that he spends 88%. Bethany spends 7/8, so notice they've done it the other way around here, so be very careful with this. 7/8, which must mean she saves 1/8. And Colin saves, the ratio of the money that he saves to spends is 1 to 9, so that adds up to 10, so it's out of 10 bits, and 1 bit is saving, so that's 1/10. And 9 bits are being spent, so it's 9/10. And now you can see the shape of the problem. We're interested in knowing who saves the most. So the question is, which one of these is the most? And it's very hard to compare at the moment because we've got a percentage and 2 fractions with different denominators. So we need to convert them into something the same. So I'm going to go for a decimal. So this one's easy, 0.12. Now 1/8. There are a few fractions you should know. Most people know that 0.5 is a half. They learn that at primary school. And most people also learn at primary school that 0.25 is a quarter. And it's a real shame that your primary school teachers didn't teach you this, because this one's very handy when it comes to your GCSE. 0.125, so that's 0.125, worth remembering that one. And 1/10 is 0.1. So now you can see very easily the person who saves the most is Bethany, because 0.125 is the most. So we just write our conclusion at the bottom. Bethany saves the most, as 0.125 is larger than 0.12 and 0.1. Full stop. And that's the end of the fractions video. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll be speaking to you again soon, hopefully.